tu kosi sikelela tina uswapolayo oza moya oza moya oza moya oza moya oza moya o si duele tina uswapolayo tina uswapolayo. Welcome, welcome everybody. Good evening from my end. It is September 9, 2020. Welcome once again to Empowerment Squared Mental Health and Resilience Series. Tonight is going to be another great night as I look forward to welcoming a very, very important guest to Empowerment Square, but also to the Hamilton community at large. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And we are here with a very special guest tonight, my own good friend, Trevor Jondu, who is a board member of Empowerment Squared, but also wears a lot of different hats depending on where you know him from. And we'll be talking about a very special topic tonight. Very important, not just for newcomers, very important for anyone for as a matter. So tonight, without wasting any time, I would turn this over to Mr. Trevor Jondu to tell us about himself. Welcome, boss.
Well, thank you very much, Leo. Thanks for having me. So let's see here, as you said, I'm a chartered accountant. I am also the owner of a public accounting firm that's got two offices, one in Mississauga, one in Hamilton. I invest in real estate, been doing so for the last 10 years. Member of the board of directors. I've, I guess, been the treasurer for a number of years, the chair, and back down to a regular board member where I like it, less responsibility, so I like that very much. But, you know, newcomer to Hamilton myself many years ago, and been here since I arrived in Canada. And, you know, inner city Hamilton is where I grew up, as you very well know. And it's been interesting, it's been fun, it's been a great journey. I don't think I would change anything because all of that has made me who I am and brought me to where I am today. And you take one day at a time, you keep going.
Before even I go to the questions, again, like I said, you and I can talk for hours.
Well, and we have already. We've done so many times.
Without leaving from here tonight.
Yeah.
But for me, I often say, I want to talk to the guy who's been broke before. I don't just want to talk to the accountant. I just don't want to talk to the accountant who went to school and learned his skills and became successful at doing it. Yeah. I want to talk to the accountant who did not even know he was going to be an accountant to begin with, who's been broke before and who had to think through how you work your way up from being broke and not having the prospect of, or even being a professional accountant, to becoming one and being where you are. Because our community, context is everything. And when there's no context, I don't care what the service is or what the support is, sometimes it falls flat.
Yeah. So what exactly you want to know? Because you're about to cut me deep in a minute here, man.
Yeah, I will go into the first thing here, right?
Sure.
My first question is, what government or other supports are newcomers and refugees claimants eligible for? And again, we're trying to talk about this right at the community level.
Got it.
Things like where can they access information on types of support, or where can they even apply or go to look for the type of information that they need access to?
Okay, so I'll answer that from a couple of different perspectives. So I'll hit you with just some basic information. So Ontario Works is a good website to go to. So if you go to ontario.ca or right now canada.ca, you'll have a lot of information. Now, I'll be honest with you, sometimes the information that you will find there will feel, it will be overwhelming sometimes. So right now, I'm sure you've heard, if you've been listening to any kind of news broadcast over the last 5 months or so, you've heard about phrases like CERB, CHOOSE, student benefits, rent thing, all these sort of topics. They have been changing and have changed drastically since they were first introduced, where they are now. So the first thing is this, just from a very basic perspective, if you are having issues just making ends meet, I would encourage anybody to reach out to the local organization of Ontario Works or any charitable organization that would have connections to point you in that direction. Make that phone call, especially right now. I wouldn't recommend going in there because obviously COVID-19, blah, blah, blah. We all know how that works out. But I would definitely advocate making that phone call or searching that website. Ontario Works has a wonderful program. If you qualify, you can get help there. The Canada government, the CERB, CERB, Canada Emergency Wage Benefit, that's available to those who are residents or Canadians who have a particular situation. They've either worked in 2019 or they're currently working or currently were working in 2020. And there's a couple of criteria that's specific for those kind of groups of individual. I would say this, just go to Canada.ca website and look at the criteria because some programs have fallen off, but some are still there and some are ending soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in the month of September now.
Yeah.
So if you think you qualify for something, definitely go on Canada.ca, see what you qualify for. Just look for benefits.
Yeah.
Just Google the benefits on Canada.ca website. You'll get the list of things that's there. They're making it very easy to find. Okay?
Yeah.
And if you're not sure if you qualify for it, ask the question. Ask someone because your situation might be different.
Great.
Okay?
I want to pick up on something particularly you said,
Sure.
right? Because many a times as newcomer or sometimes depending on who you are, you don't even have to be a newcomer.
Yeah.
It can be intimidating before even going to Canada.ca.
Yeah.
And before even you get there, it could be as easy, but you don't even know because you're intimidated to go there in the first place. But you said something that I find very important. Call a settlement agency.
Absolutely.
Call somebody who might help you deal with that intimidation. And before you know it, you may just realize that the information could be as simple or it could be straightforward. So I really wanted to pick up on that point that if you don't think that or you're not so comfortable going online and checking out Canada.ca because you're not too sure for any reason, you made a very important point. We can't go into offices right now, everything's shut down, but you can definitely Google a local settlement agency or a local agency or a family friend or whatever to pick up the phone and call and say, I'm struggling with this piece, where do I go or how do I start?
Oh, I would highly recommend you doing that because right now it is easy to access those benefits. The question is, should you? Okay? And what that means is if you don't qualify, the government has made it very clear, and I saw a news clipping, I think 2 days ago, they are now starting some programs to audit those payments to see if you really should have received it. And if you should not have received it, they're going to ask for it back. Okay, it's not free money as some may think that it is. All right, and sometimes in conversation, especially when you're new to the country or you're new to the environment or the structure or the government offices that are administering these programs, and you haven't had any interactions with them, you're right, it is very intimidating. The best thing that you can do is ask those questions. Maybe you might even not even know who to ask it from. Okay. But whoever is watching this now, okay, and they may be seeing it again, and this is going to be streamed and linked to Empowerment Squared's website. Call Empowerment Squared, okay? We may have the answer for you, we may not, but I'm sure we'll be able to point you in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, I'll go to the next question here. Sure. Tell us a little bit about things like paying rent, utility bills, credit card bills, especially during these times where everything seems to be out of order.
Yeah.
Now, are there any rights that families need to be aware of? How can families begin conversations about financial issues with their landlords, for example? Because these are very difficult times.
Yes.
Usually these issues are complicated to begin with, even when there is no COVID-19. But we've seen that COVID-19 has affected like Black communities, racialized communities, marginalized communities, the worst. Everyone has been affected, but when you come to these communities, you realize that the underlying issues that were there got even worse as a result of COVID-19. As someone like you who see people financials all the time, who deals with CRA, the government, credit card companies, you name the rest of it around financial matters, what can you tell us, what is it that people need to know, important information about things like paying rent, bills, credit card bills, and that kind of stuff?
I guess I'll say this, they still need to get paid. That's the important part. And I don't say that as, pointing my finger saying, oh, you gotta, no. What I mean is, as I mentioned, I'm a landlord as well, okay? And when this first hit, my tenants, if they're watching, I don't know if they'll be watching, but if they are, they'll attest to the fact that I called them and I said, okay, guys, here's what's happening. Where are you? What's your situation? How do we make this work, okay? And I find after being a landlord for 10 years that the best way that I can navigate through this pandemic is open that dialogue, that conversation with my tenants. So I would advise and advocate that if your landlord hasn't done that by now, you do that. Open that conversation to say, hello, Mr. Landlord, hello, Mrs. Landlord, here's where my situation is. How can we make this work? Because everybody's dealing with the same situation, okay? Now, here's a few things. Earlier in the earlier on, the provincial government put a freeze on evictions, okay? I'm not sure if that freeze has been lifted. I think it may have been lifted by now, but what that means is your landlord could not evict you, okay? The courts were shut down, everything, the landlord and tenant board was shut down. You really couldn't go there to do anything anyway, okay? And those who had evictions, at a point of time, they said, nope, you're not gonna process it, all right? So what it means is have that conversation with your landlord if you're the tenant. And if you're a landlord out there, have that conversation with your tenant. Because let's just be frank about it, they will need some place to stay. Right? As a tenant, they'll need some place to stay. Even if they're being evicted now, there's not a lot of people looking to make movements in the renting industry right now, but there is a very scarce amount of space available. So it's a catch-22.
Right.
Okay? As a landlord, you're kind of indifferent. But from my perspective, the way I look at it is, if I've got, my mother taught me a long time, maybe it was my grandmother, a bird in the hand is worth two in a bush. Okay? So if I've got good tenants and they've been, have got a very good history of paying rents and taking care of the place, my first instinct was to give them a call to say, hey guys, here's what's happening. I know this is happening. How are you guys doing? Yeah. What do you need?
Yeah, just before. Now, I will also say by extension, those examples you just gave, Trevor, even extend to even your credit card or your utility companies. If you have your credit card, you know your bill is coming due, and for whatever reason, remember, the people who run these companies and businesses are human beings. They are not robots. Yeah. Pick up your phone, call your credit card company, explain what your scenarios are, because sometimes you never know what assistance, because all of the major companies now are finding ways to also help their clients and their customers.
Yeah. What I've seen is that there's a willingness, especially early on in the pandemic, there was a heavy willingness for utility companies, banks, credit card companies to offer those assistance. It's still available, probably not as heavily advertised right now, but make that phone call. All you have to do is ask and see what they can do and see what they still have available. Yeah. Some credit card companies are saying, okay, we're just gonna waive the interest. Some banks are saying, you know what, we're just gonna, if you've got the insurance product in your cards, for example, you're kind of covered depending on the situation. The fine print is kind of important, but the banks are really relaxing their rules right now. Yeah. So it's a good time to give those companies a call to say, hey, here's where we are. What can you do to help us? And you might be surprised. You might get a lot of good responses out of that.
Yeah, I will sneak in one question before.
Sure.
I know people are anxiously waiting for their questions online. Don't worry, I'm coming to it, but I told you this guy and I can get going for all night and don't stop. So I'll sneak in one more question, Trevor.
Sure.
What do you recommend for families that are managing immigration debt during this time, especially people who have come as newcomers and now they have this debt from the very first day they landed here before even knowing how to get an income? Yeah. They already have, and sometimes it goes up to $30,000 based on the size of your family.
Very true. I would say that the approach would be very similar to any other debt, but here's the one thing that's going to be very new and needs to be considered and planned for. For example, I'm from Guyana, South America. When I grew up, we didn't have this whole credit rating and things like that. Okay, in Canada, that's really your transactional card. If your credit is bad, you don't get a place to rent, because landlords are looking to check your credit score, most of them anyway. You're not going to get a credit card. You're likely not going to get a car loan, and you're probably highly not going to get a loan for a home. But here's how that really relates in its most simplistic form. Without a credit card, you can't pay for those expenses that can probably get you that job. Without a car, you likely won't be able to get to that job. Yep. Okay? And without a safe, secure place to stay, you probably won't be able to keep that job. And that's just looking at it from its very ground floor perspective. Yeah. So that debt that you acquire or that you have, maybe you didn't really ask for, but it's there, but it's just a product of circumstance, you've got a plan to pay that off at some point. Yeah. Okay. I would, at the very least, pay those minimum payments. At the very, very least. That'll keep the credit score building up the right way. But if you pay those minimum payments and you don't ignore it, that's what you should do. But if you start to ignore it and you think that it'll go away by magic, it doesn't happen. Not in Canada. They've got long memories over here, man.
So that's the message for you. It's not going away.
Yeah.
I will get to some questions. We already have questions coming in online. Tim is asking, are there services available to help with understanding financial support in other languages? Now, this is a very important question because sometimes there's very little out there in other languages. But I know during COVID-19, even the government has gone out of its way to translate information in Somali, in Arabic, in different types of languages. But there may still be some minority languages that they didn't catch. So my advice would be, find someone in your community who you know speaks your language, but also is well-versed in English, that could read this stuff for you and then help interpret it to you if you cannot find any direct services and you know that the government hasn't translated anything in those languages. That would be my best advice. But Trevor, I don't know if you want to.
Ditto.
Yeah.
What he said. No, that's exactly it. The government has taken precautions, and I've been very mindful of trying to get this information out to as many cultural groups as they can. I would say this is not necessarily the best one, but you kind of have to take some of the responsibility on yourself to kind of find out if it is available in your language or in your dialect, I should say, because that's probably where it gets a little bit more dicey. Okay.
Yeah.
So definitely take it upon yourself to find out and ask those questions and see where you go from there. I promise you the help is available. You just might have to seek it a little bit further based on your particular situation.
Andrew says, I would like to hire a financial advisor. What are some questions I should ask before hiring someone? I would put that right on your
Great question.
list.
Well, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a chartered accountant. So I'm the person that the financial advisor calls to say, can you give me the information on your client so that I can properly run my analysis, okay? I would say first things first, I'm going to focus on the word because I'm a detail-oriented guy. When you use the word, I would like to hire a financial advisor, you don't necessarily pay them out of your pockets. A financial advisor gets paid differently depending on how you are going to be engaging them. Sometimes they are commission that comes out of your pocket. Most of the times they get paid on things called trailer fees, depending how you're investing with them. Okay, so it may cost you absolutely nothing out of your pockets up front to get the professional advice you need. So here's my advice. Make sure that they've got their letters, their CFPs, depending on how much you are looking to invest, because they are trained in a capacity that they can properly provide you that guidance, okay? There are regulations around that. There are rules and regulations around that governs CFPs. I got the right credentials for that, right? Yeah, CFPs, Certified Financial Professionals.
Planners. Yeah.
That's right, planners. So I would definitely advocate to see one of those individuals. And they've got tools, software at their disposal that they can easily give you an answer to that, okay? But make sure that the person that you're talking with or whomever is advising you knows what they're talking about, okay? Get the experience under your belt. Make sure that you're in the right place. Take that one good step forward so you can set yourself up on a solid foundation. I'll tell you why. If you make that plan and you get that right person, they're gonna tell you where the holes in your plans are right away. Yeah. And they're gonna ask you some tough questions that you're gonna want to know the answer to for yourself, which is, what are your goals? When do you want to get there? How do you want to fund those goals to get to where you need to be? Yeah. All those things are important because where you are now is not going to be where you're going to be in 3 to 5 years, 10 years after that. Yeah. And you want to be able to have that same conversation, but in a higher level, in a bigger capacity, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Yep. I don't want anyone to be having the exact same conversation with their financial professional today as they're going to have 5 years from now.
5 years later. Yeah, okay? Makes sense. Yeah. So there you got it. And to just make it short for you quickly, don't do anything under the table. My immigration people, newcomers, don't go under the table. Money matter is a serious matter.
Oh boy.
Make sure whoever you're dealing with is licensed, is proper, has experience, and sometimes understands you. So don't go under the table. Nobody should tell you they can advise you about money under the table. If they are a certified financial advisor or planner, they have no reason to be under the table in the first place. So I will leave that there. You know what I mean? And Justin...
I'm not going to ask that. Okay, carry on.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Justin is saying, I have been saving money in order to purchase my first house.
Oh, I love the topic of real estate.
What is some advice that you would give to a first-time home buyer?
See an accountant.
There you go.
That's what I would say, because There are tax benefits that you can achieve that would help you to get into that house faster and a more comfortable pace. I'll give you an example. So you use the phrase for a first-time home buyers. For a first-time home buyer, there is such a thing called the first-time home buyers plan that's available to every resident of Canada that they can access. What it does, and if my memory serves me right, I think it's 30,000, maybe it's 35,000. I'm going to go with 30,000 to be conservative right now. I have to look these things up because they change so
all the
frequently.
time. Yeah, they're changing so fast.
I learned a long time ago never to memorize what the rules are because the day you do is the day it's going to change.
Yeah.
Okay. Essentially, what it does is it allows you to put money away into your RRSP. As you put money away into your RRSP, you get monies coming back to you depending on your situation from your income taxes. So if you're an employee and you are getting CPP, EI, and you're paying taxes out of your paycheck, when you make payments into an RRSP, you get some of that taxes refunded to you.
I see.
Okay? So let's say, and forgive me, this might take me a little bit, but I'm going to try to make it as timely as I can.
I'll say try and make it short so that we get to the question. Go ahead. And I will let people know, we provide Trevor information as well. So if you need to see an accountant on this matter and you're serious about it, you can always give Trevor a call.
Absolutely.
As well.
So the theory behind this is this. As you're putting money away, you're getting money back. Okay? What most people do is as they get that money back when they file their tax returns, they go and they spend it. What I advise our clients to do, especially those who are trying to buy their first home, is let's sit down and find out what your refund is going to be before we file your tax return.
I see.
So let's say you put $5,000 away, you get $2,000 back. I would say, well, here's what you do. Put $7,000 into your RSP now. But here's what that does. If you put $5,000 in your RSP and you get $2,000 back, the equation changes if you put $7,000
in there.
Okay?
Yep.
Because if you put $7,000, you might get $2,500 back.
Yep.
So then I say to them, then fine, put $7,500 into your RSP.
Yeah.
But the equation changes again.
And the numbers adjust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you put $7,500 in your RSP, instead of $2,500 back, you might now get $2,600 back.
Yep.
Okay? So the name of the game is try to make it as equal as you can.
I see.
Because the question is going to be, well, Trev, I only have $5,000. Where am I going to get the extra $7,000 from?
To make the down payment.
To make the extra RSP contribution.
Yeah.
Well, banks have this wonderful thing called RRSP loans every January and February.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm telling you something that I did myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
That you learned from, yeah.
So what I did was I saw that my refund was a certain number, so I just matched that refund into my RSP ahead of time.
All right.
It increased my refund. What it does is it speeds up your ability to hit that RSP maximum contribution that you can withdraw from your RSP to get that house. So that 5-year plan of you getting your first house might come down to 2
years
sometimes
or 3
3.
years. Yeah.
So you can get there faster with proper tax planning.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Leo Johnson. I am the Executive Director of Empowerment Squared, and I've been here tonight with Mr. Trevor Jondu, who is a chartered accountant, runs a private firm, his own private firm, but also is a board member of Empowerment Squared and has a long history with the organization as former chair, treasurer of the board, and he said he likes it being an ordinary member, so he doesn't take a lot. So thank you so much, and a staunch member of this community. We live with the people here, we talk with the people here, we eat with the people here, so we have a vested interest in making sure that the people here also succeed, live where they are, play where they are, and be successful contributors and participants in your society. I will leave you here tonight. Have a good night, and we look forward to seeing you again next Wednesday. I will not tell you what's in store yet. You can go and check it out, but look forward to next Wednesday. Don't forget to join us again as we take on very important questions from members of our community. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your week.